concentrations are STEM designated. So like I said, STEM is at our core. We have STEM across all fields. So if you are interested in having that 24-month extension for whatever graduate program you're interested in, you will have that opportunity here at Stevens. So we are technology focused and we do have a broad reach. All of our graduate programs are divided amongst 3 of our schools. We have the Schaefer Engineering School of Engineering and Science. So that's where you have your computer science, your data science folks, any of, AI, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, ocean engineering, construction engineering, and management. That's all going to fall under your Schaefer School of Engineering and Science. We have our School of Business, and this is, of course, where our MBA programs are, financial engineering, finance, business intelligence, analytics. That's all within that realm. And then we also have our School of Systems and Enterprises. And our Schools of Systems and Enterprises is exactly what it's saying. It's optimizing the design, creation, operations of complex systems and organizations. So if you're interested in engineering management, systems engineering, space systems engineering, the School of Systems and Enterprises is your go-to. A couple of our facts. So Stevens today, so as I mentioned, when we were founded in 1870, we only offered the first bachelor's in mechanical engineering, but since then we've grown so much. We actually have a higher graduate population than undergraduate population, which is really unheard of for most universities, but it just goes to show how strong and robust our graduate programs are. We offer over 50 master's programs. We offer 20 PhD programs, and we do offer over 100 graduate certificate programs. We do have 17 active research centers because technology is at our core. We're always trying to be innovative, and we are a premier research university. We do have a small graduate student faculty ratio, which is really good when you're doing graduate programs because sometimes you need that intimate setting, right, with your professors and with your classmates to fully immerse yourself within the program. I myself am a graduate of Stevens. I completed my master's degree from the School of Business, and I went into the business program with a Bachelor of Arts background. So I felt like a fish out of water, but having the smaller class sizes and having my faculty really be available and all the resources that Stevens had really helped me to be successful within the program and eventually graduate. And a couple of some of our statistics as well. We do have an average compensation for our graduate students of $89,000. So there's a huge return on investment. And when you're looking into graduate programs or graduate schools, that's one of the things that you should be asking is what is the average compensation? We do have over 97% of our graduate students do secure in full-time employment up to 6 months after graduation. We do have a very, very high international population. So I would advise, even if Stevens is not the right one for you, when you're reaching out to universities and trying to find out information, ask them questions about what are your stats and what are your stats based off of. Some universities will only base it off their domestic population. And because we have such a large international population for our graduate students, this is based off of our international rates. So 97% of our international students are graduating with securing full-time employment up to 6 months after graduation. So that's definitely something if you know you want to be working in the US, you want to get that US experience here at Stevens with your degree, you will be able to achieve that. So as I mentioned, choosing a graduate program. So some of the things that you have to think about when you're looking into graduate schools, and I would advise, look at multiple graduate schools, right? And think about all the criteria, and then that's going to help you to narrow it down. But think about things of identify what are your interests and what are your strengths, right? Your interests can go based off, do you want a higher education degree based on what you did your undergraduate degree? Or do you want a higher education degree in something different? Or do you want a higher education degree because it's going to help you advance within your current role? And think about what are some of the strengths that you want to continue to strengthen, or even what are some of your weaknesses that you want to go in and strengthen with a higher education degree. As I mentioned earlier, research all academic institutions in the United States. Research it based on location, based on the resources they offer, based on the programs that they offer, based on, even the amount of money that you're going to be spending on tuition, right? Like all of these have to really factor in when you're making this decision. Review the program curriculum, check accreditations. Accreditations are a really, really big thing. And if you want a STEM designated degree, you need to make sure that that university is STEM designated, right? That university does offer these programs that you want. Consider, like I said, location and the campus culture as well. And then of course, reach out to the admissions offices. The admissions offices are here to support you and provide you with guidance and information with what you need to make the best educated guess for decision for yourself. So making sure that you're reaching out to the correct people so that you can gather this information. Attend events as well. Today you started, the first step in your journey by attending today's session and learning more about Stevens and learning later more about Mississippi State University. So making sure that you're putting your best foot forward and you're taking all the resources that are given to you so that you can make that decision, right? That final decision of where you want to go. Reach out to faculty and staff as well. Like faculty love to talk about what their interests are, right? They love to talk about their programs. They love to talk about the courses that they're teaching. So reach out to faculty. They're always going to love talking about all of those things, right? Because they got into academia because they love it so much. So reach out to faculty. And then as well as speak to current students and alumni. Here at Stevens, I can't even begin to tell you how many times I have students asking me, hey, do you have someone that's in the CS background that's a current student that I can chat with? And we do. We have ambassadors that are here to help guide you and give you their own personal experience, whether it's a good personal experience or a bad personal experience, or how was my transition to finding an apartment? How do I like campus life? How do I like Hoboken in itself? So reach out to students, current students, and alumni because people are here to help you and be able to provide you with some of those questions that maybe someone in admissions wouldn't be able to answer because they're not a student, right? So you gathered all this information, right? So now you want to prepare yourself for a strong graduate school application. Every university has different requirements. They have different deadlines. So make sure that when you're doing your research, you're writing down these deadlines, you're taking note of what are these requirements so that you fully understand what you have to do right on your end in order to apply. So make sure that you gather all your materials early. If the deadline to apply is May 1st, don't say, okay, end of April, now I'm going to start preparing. No, if you're looking at this and you have 2 months, start to prepare and gather everything that you need, especially for things that you might know that will take a little bit longer, like a transcript or letters of recommendation. Think about if they require standardized test scores, right? If you need to take a standardized test score, you have to schedule time for the test if you want to study for the test. So think about all these things, make sure that you're planning ahead. Majority of graduate applications will sometimes require a personal statement or maybe an essay or something like that. So make sure that you're crafting a strong personal statement and you're also answering any questions that the application is requiring of you. Make sure that you're putting that in your statement of purpose. Here at Stevens, we don't have interviews for our graduate students to apply. So the academic unit, in order for them to really understand who you are as a student, they're going to get that from your personal statement. So make sure that you're basically introducing yourself, you're introducing your interests, you're introducing how is this higher education degree going to help you achieve your goal. Of course, highlight any of your achievements. If your achievements are not, on your transcript, for example, make sure that you're adding any awards on your resume, any research experience, any personal experience, internships, anything that is going to strengthen your application. Make sure that you are highlighting those. Of course, strong letters of recommendation, choosing folks for your letter of recommendation that are going to give you strong recommendations, right? If any graduate schools require interviews, make sure that you prepare yourself for those interviews, right? And you are in a professional manner, you have a professional background, you're dressed professionally, and that you practice some of those typical questions that they may ask you so you know how to respond to those. proofread your applications. I understand sometimes you're submitting 20 applications and you may have just one document and you're just recycling that one document, right? But make sure that it is tailored to that university. I always tell students have multiple copies, and because other different schools are going to request different items, right? So make sure you're having multiple copies, multiple different versions, and get your professors to look over it, get your friends, your families to look over it. I have my parents and my partner look over documents all the time to make sure that it's clear and concise and it's understandable, right? And then of course, meet your deadlines. Biggest thing, meet your deadlines, whether you have to set 2, 3, 4, 5 calendar invites, alerts, alarms, whatever to help you make sure that you're meeting those deadlines. Now, for funding opportunities here at Stevens, we have various different funding opportunities. The biggest one for our master's students is our fellowships. So fellowships are merit-based for our master's students and is awarded to first-year master's students. So when your application is reviewed by the academic department, they will make a recommendation on how much funding you will be awarded. And then our office actually reviews it and approves it. So if they made an amount that we're like, that doesn't seem fit for this academic profile, let's increase it, or vice versa, let's decrease it. Our office makes that final decision, and it's dispersed between 2 academic semesters. We do have fellowships as well for our PhD students, and we do have assistantships, graduate teaching and research assistantships. Our assistantships are primarily reserved for our doctoral students. However, graduate students on the master's level are able to apply for these graduate assistantship positions through their academic department after their first semester of study. So if you're applying for, let's say, fall 24 and you attend for fall 24 for spring 25, you're able to apply for these assistantship positions within the academic department that you're currently in. And then of course, loans. We do also have a high amount of our Fulbright scholars that ends up attending Stevens, and Fulbright scholars typically receive a Fulbright scholarship as well as a scholarship from Stevens. So what makes Stevens different? The biggest thing is the student centricity, as well as being a premier research university. As I mentioned, if research is what you want to do, Stevens is a great fit for you. We do have a very rigorous education. We really want to emphasize in students learning, hands-on learning. So you're learning what's in the classroom and then you're applying it to real life situations. Of course, our innovation and entrepreneurship is an institutional priority for us, to be quite honest. The majority of all our students complete CPT while attending Stevens, which just helps them at the end also for their OPT and full-time job offers. We can't deny our location is great, primarily because of the fact that, I'm so sorry that my dog is barking in the background, especially because of where we're centrally located. We're in a hub for so many different job opportunities as well as internship opportunities and networking opportunities. Of course, like we understand that, it's sometimes difficult for students to have opportunities and challenges, and they have these challenges. But like I said, our not only our curriculum, our resources, our services are really geared to make your experience the best that it can be. And our high energy and definitely our sweep of upward trajectory is one of the biggest benefits of Stevens. And that does conclude my presentation. I'll leave this up for a few minutes. If you do want to jot down our main email address at graduate@stevens.edu. We do have Zoom office hours Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I left it here, but it is also on our Contact Us webpage. But I will stop sharing my screen now and put it over to Kay.
All right, thank you, Bianca. Hi, everybody. Again, my name is Kay Mamiya. I am working with the Office of Admissions and Scholarships at Mississippi State University. And then I'll be talking about just the college search in general for undergraduate students, and then I'll be sharing information about Mississippi State University as well. So those are the things that I'll be talking about. So different ways to study in the US. I'll be sharing tips and practices to choose institutions that you want to apply to. And then I'll dive into more detailed information about what you should look for in college search. And then again, I'll be sharing information about Mississippi State throughout the presentation. First, I want to share that there are different ways to study in the U.S. Again, I'll be mainly focusing on undergraduate students, but there are different ways to do that. The first thing, participate in an ESL program, so English intensive language program for international students to develop their English skills, or if you're attending at the college in your home country, then if they might have exchange programs with different institutions in the US as well. So that's a good way to, again, brush up your English skills before you maybe transfer to our institution in US. And then recently, a lot of international students are attending a community college first and then transfer to a four-year institution, mainly because community colleges are more affordable. And then also it's easier to get into. So international students can adjust to the student life in the US. And then, after 2 years, and then they can transfer to a four-year institution where classes might be a little bit more difficult. And then depending on your major and what you want to study, there are just different professional and technical schools in the US as well. And then mainly, of course, we have a lot of four-year colleges and universities. And then two main types of those institutions are private and public institutions. And I would say there are different differences between private and public institutions. So you should definitely check information of institutions that you're looking at. But in terms of like curriculums, campus culture, classroom size, and then different things, there's so many different things that are existing between private and public institutions. So you should definitely be careful of which institution that you're applying to. And then graduate school. So Bianca already talked about it, but if you're already at the university in Ghana, but you can always pursue graduate degrees after your graduation. So master, doctorate, and then also right now there are more hybrid programs for students to complete both master and then doctorate degrees in the same program. Okay, so from here, I'll be sharing just different tips for your college search. But the first thing that I would say is it's really important for international students to set your goals first. So, what kind of studies that you want to do, what kind of environments that you want to study. And then even a lot of international students are already thinking about what to do after graduation. So like career. So just a different interest, and then you don't have to make decisions right now, but I think it's important to start thinking about, study fields and then also the career that you want to pursue afterwards. Okay, so the first step is to secure enough time. I would say 1 year or more if you can. But I would say the trend is the preparation time is getting less and less for international students. International student, I was an international student as well. We have a lot of things to do before we move to the United States. So studying for different required tests, optional tests like ACT, SAT, if you're pursuing graduate degrees and then GRE. And then depending on where you come from, we have to study for English proficiency tests too, required scores. And then depending on institutions, they might require an essay or personal statement. And then international students, we have to secure funding to study and live in the United States. we might have to communicate with your family members about your decision. And then, of course, you need to have some time for you to explore different options and then narrow down your options and then actually applying to different institutions and then going through so many different admission processes. All of those things take a lot of time. So it's important to start your preparation in much in advance. And then this is just an example from Mississippi State. So this is the timeline for undergraduate students. We don't have strict deadlines, but we start applications process 1 year prior. So for example, those who are attending our college from this fall semester, their process started last year in August. So that's where we open up all the applications, and then, as you can see, different important dates. So we have a lot of competitive scholarships for undergraduate students. So there's certain time for applications, and then registration for orientations. We have one for international students in August, but a lot of other orientations are happening in the summer. And then we ask first year students to live on campus. So there is a housing priority deadline, which means that after April 1st, it's going to be really difficult to live at the residence hall that you would like. So, you can share a lot of preferences, but it's going to be difficult after April 1st. So the second tip is to search and plot thoroughly. So I would recommend students to create a list of institutions, maybe on an Excel sheet. So you can list a lot of institutions that you're looking at, and then you can create different columns and then put the information about institutions. So, again, requirements, test scores, admission deadline if there's any, and then other important dates, tuition, cost of attendance, scholarship information. If you can, create this type of list, and then it will be helpful for you to narrow down your options and then find ones that are very fitting for you. And again, I share the timeline for Mississippi State, but a lot of different institutions, they have different admission timeline and more important dates. So you should create some sort of like a calendar for you, and then you don't miss any important dates. And then doing research, you will collect a lot of information from websites, events like this. So definitely should have some sort of like file, either physical or digital one, so that you can store information and you can always go back and then check that information when you make decisions. And then tips number 3 and 4 are very similar. So be open-minded and prepare alternative plans. So I think it's important to have some sort of like a goals, because oftentimes students have some schools in mind, and then they have been wanting to go to that school for specific major or degree, and then that's really important. But at the same time, oftentimes students run into challenges and it might not be accepted for some schools. So it's always good to have some alternative plan. So you might want to be careful with the acceptance rates. If you're only applying to schools that have very high low acceptance rates, and then that's going to be really challenging for students. So you might look into different schools. And then also, sometimes students tell us that their friends are already attending or their family members graduated from those schools, so they definitely want to go to that. They want to apply to that school. I think those are great, but again, just be open-minded and then look for maybe different schools that you never heard of, because each institution is unique, and then they have different good programs for different studies and opportunities. So again, just get outside of your comfort zone and look for different institutions. And then tip number 5 is to use various sources. So I'm just listing some websites that I found and I heard of. Those are global search engines. So not just for institutions in the United States, but those links like study portals, Keystones, bachelorstudies.com, educations.com, you can use different filters and then find institutions that are fitting for you. So just based on the study that you want to do, or location, the attendance, cost of attendance, um, just different environments and then things like that. So try to use those website and then see what you can find. And then I'm sure in Ghana, there are different organizations and businesses that promote study abroad. So like Education USA, they should have a lot of good resources and information for students from Ghana. So definitely utilize that. And then lastly, do your own research. You can use the on the internet, and then maybe if you have like some social media platforms, then definitely there's some communities where students are sharing a lot of information about particular schools, or maybe there's some communities for students that are already attending that school. So they might be able to share some good information with you. And then Bianca already mentioned it, but I would say definitely if you already narrowing down your options, look at the websites of those institutions. They have really good information for prospective students, and then, counselors and then staff at the universities. We are always happy to meet virtually and then share information and provide assistance if you need. And then attending college fairs and visits are really important too. So right now we're doing this virtually, but if you see any in-person, college fairs that are happening in Ghana, you should definitely try and check it out, because you'll be able to interact with representatives of those universities, and then you can share contact information, and then you can ask any further questions that you might have in the future. And then during the COVID, a lot of institutions developed some sort of like a virtual campus tours or virtual presentations for prospective students. So you can also check if those institutions have any opportunities for you. Okay. And then the last tip is to use and build your network. So if you have friends who are already attending a college in the US, you should definitely reach out and then ask for advice. Not just the friends, but your family members, alumni, your high school, teachers, school counselors, staff from Education USA, study abroad agents, online communities. And again, faculty and staff at the universities in the United States. If you're already narrowing down options, you should also definitely reach out to them. They're willing to respond to your emails and then share information. Okay. So from here, I'm going to dive into more detailed information, the information that international students, they should look for in college search. And I would say, of course, for graduate students too, but undergraduate students, definitely the funding is probably one of the most important aspects um, in the college search, because without the funding, you won't be able to attend and live in the United States. So not just the budget that you already have, but just a different things, information that you should look for. So of course, what you have currently, but also the institutions, their tuitions and then different fees for students, housing. So again, Mississippi State University, we require first-year students to live on campus. So the pricing is clear, and then we share that with students, and then they don't have to worry about other things like water, electricity, Wi-Fi, and things like that. But if you're living off campus, and then some institutions in the city, they might not have on-campus housing, and then you have to find your housing for yourself. So you just need to be careful with what's included or not. And then of course meals, and then international students have to have medical insurance in the United States. So oftentimes universities already have one for international students, but if you have to find it for yourself, you have to calculate that as well. immunization requirements for international students, those things cost too. So once international students arrive on campus in the United States, they have to go through some checkups, and then those are not covered by the medical insurance usually. And then other things, like if you're preparing for classes, right? Textbooks, they tend to cost a lot in the United States. So, just depending on the major and classes, but one book might cost about $100 or $200 sometimes. So you have to definitely think about that too. And then transportation. So again, if you're living on campus, then you might not have to think about that. But if you're commuting from like off campus, then do you have to take a bus or train? Is it free? Does it cost? So you have to think about that. And then other things, daily necessities, your furniture, hobbies that you want to do, trips, all of those things. I think you need to start thinking about and then calculate how much it will cost, and then you can choose institutions that you can apply to. And then one thing that I want to share with prospective students is that, again, funding is really important, because oftentimes institutions ask students to share a proof of funding to study in the United States. And then also, depending on the country, when you are trying to obtain a student visa, the embassy and a consulate, they might also ask you to show a proof of funding as well. So this is just an example from Mississippi State. We use that document on the left, and then the total cost of $48,000, $773. This is for this school year, but we ask first-year students to make sure that they can show that they will be able to pay off this amount for the first year of their academic programs. And then this is, really expensive, but it's all included. So our institution kind of calculated, tuition, other fees for students, housing, meals, medical insurance, and then international fees for immigration documents, and then other personal things like your flight from your country, Ghana, to the US, and then other things might cost for students. And then that's how we calculated this amount. But that doesn't mean that students have to have this amount in their bank account. There's just different ways to show that they can pay the funding, they pay the cost. So again, if you have certain money in your bank account, that can be part of that. But a lot of times, international students, they have family members or other individual sponsors, and then their funding can be part of it. And then also international students usually have like a sponsorship or a scholarship from different government organizations, from their home country, or scholarships and then graduate assistantship from the institution that you're applying to. And then this is an example from Mississippi State. So we have a scholarship system called out-of-state resident scholarships. So this is for any students who are from outside of the state of Mississippi, so including international students. So based on high school GPA, and then if they have any scores of like ACT or SAT, based on that, students will be automatically receiving this amount for every year until they graduate. So I know that international students, oftentimes they don't have SAT and SAT scores. So, you can see the test optional column. So let's say, if you have high school GPA of 3.6, then you'll be receiving $10,000 every year until you graduate. And then this is the scholarship that you don't have to apply for. So upon admission, you're receiving email from our institution, and receiving the information that you're receiving this amount. And then also we have other competitive scholarships for different studies of fields and leadership experiences. And then again, depending on the your high school GPA and things like that, we do have like housing scholarships too. So definitely check information of scholarship opportunities, financial aids for international students if you're looking for institutions that offer. And I think we already covered this, it's important to start thinking about what kind of study that you want to do, and then also what kind of a career that you want to pursue. And there are so many different unique majors, that you can find in the United States. And then, you can also seek research opportunities too, because oftentimes international students, they're very academic, and then even undergraduate students, they're already thinking about graduate degrees. And then this is just a just a snapshot of the degree program study we offer for undergraduate students. We have over 175 degree programs. And so I would say definitely check out our website and then see what kind of courses that those departments offer. And again, so research opportunities are getting bigger in the United States. So not only for graduate students, but a lot of institutions are trying to create more opportunities for undergraduate students to be involved with research. So Mississippi State University, we're also known for a lot of STEM majors. So agricultural research, natural resources and conservation research, engineering, those are the really big fields. But a lot of students are coming to start their undergraduate academic journey, but then they're really wanted to be involved with the research opportunities. So I think we have that kind of environment for undergraduate students too. So those are just opportunities for undergraduate students to be part of the research. And then I already covered, international students, we need to check the requirements of English proficiency tests. Some institutions don't require, but our institution, for example, requires. So those are the minimum scores for TOEFL, IELTS, ACT, if you're taking any, SAT, and then Duolingo. And then oftentimes, even within one school, the different departments, they might have different required scores. So you should definitely be careful with that. But our departments, the TOEFL score ranges from 71 to 79, and in IELTS, either 6.5 or 6.0. And then just based on location and campus environment, I think students should look for those information as well when you're looking at institutions. So if you like a big campus and then small town atmosphere, and then a lot of universities in rural areas are like that, it might be small community, but at the same time, it's easier to get a sense of community and, sense of belonging there. If you like city life, there are different things happening. If you want to use like public transportation, definitely institutions located in the cities are good for you. So a location is definitely key aspect of college search. And then Mississippi State University, we are located in a small town in the state of Mississippi, northeast. And so because we are located in the south, the weather is usually really warm throughout the year. Since we're small college town, we have a free bus service for students or anybody in town. So the buses are running around the campus and connecting with the town. And then also we have like a regional airport nearby, which is 20 minutes away. So it's really convenient. And then the airport is connected to Atlanta, Georgia. And then international students often ask information about safety, which is very important, but also it's really difficult to say, which city, which state, which university is safe for students. But I would say I would encourage students to look for information of, what kind of efforts and initiatives that universities are doing to protect students' safety. And those information should be available on the website. So definitely check that out. And then lastly, I think international students are already thinking about career after graduation or thinking about, working. as a student on campus. So you should definitely check information about, if your university is offering a lot of part-time job opportunities or internship opportunities for students, and then what kind of like workshops, different support system that the Career Center has for international students at the institution. So that kind of information is also very helpful. Okay, I already shared this information. So, lastly, the information that I want to share is our admission process. Is very simple. What we need is just a transcripts. So your grading from your high school and a high school diploma, and then English language proficiency test. So we don't require essay or interview or any other things. Just those three things that we need from international undergraduate students. So if you have any questions at all, just feel free to reach out to me. And that's it from me.
Thank you so much. I think this was actually a wonderful presentation. And Ms. Bianca, yes, we really enjoyed your presentations. And I'm very sure our viewers did enjoy the session too. Thank you very much to our viewers. Thank you for watching and thank you for your comments in the comment section. Um, if you just joined us, this is the
10.
Education USA information session, and what we do is promote US higher education. Today we are hosting Stevens Institute of Technology and Mississippi State University. They just gave us insight to their programs and opportunities they have for international students. At this point, we have so many questions from our viewers, and I'm going to start with one talking about the advantage of GRE and ACT. So the student wants to find out what added advantage okay, the question goes this: what advantage can excelling in GRE or ACT exam add to an application? So assuming it's test optional and the student has done very well in their GRE test, what advantage does it add to their application?
Well, I can start with answering that question. So as you mentioned too, so at Stevens, the GRE is test optional for our master's applications. So our Master's of Science and Master's of Engineering applications, it is test optional. For MBA, it is required, and then for our PhD students, it is required. So if you're interested in a Master's of Science or Master's of Engineering application or program, and you're thinking, okay, maybe I should take the GRE, if you want your application to be very competitive, yes, I would strongly recommend to take your GRE, especially if you're seeking funding opportunities because funding is merit-based. So if you didn't do so successful in your undergraduate degree, maybe you obtained, although we don't have a minimum GPA requirement, most of our admitted students do have a 3.0 or higher. So let's say you're applying to a program, your GPA is maybe like a 2.5 because you didn't do as successful, you don't have that very strong of letters of recommendation, and you want your application to be more competitive, we would strongly recommend for you to submit a GRE score because it is also test optional. And if you submit it, you're just kind of strengthening your own application at that point. But yeah, Kay, I don't know if you wanted to say anything.
Yeah, I can just share my perspective from our institution on SAT and ACT. So again, Mississippi State, we don't require ACT or SAT. Those are optional. But as I share the information about our scholarship, so if you have higher scores on ACT or SAT, you will get more scholarship per year. So that's definitely one reason to consider taking some if you have it's I know that those tests are very hard for international students, but I know that some competitive schools they require those tests. So I would say you don't have to. There are a lot of institutions that don't require, but again, if we are pursuing a degree at more competitive institutions, then they require. So you have to have required test scores for those institutions, and then if you're applying to institutions that don't require those tests, and then but you might be able to have a stronger applications, and then again you might be able to receive more scholarship based on the test scores.
All right, thank you very much. Kay, I think this question is to you. Your school requires English proficiency tests from Ghanaian students. This student wants to find out why and if it's possible to waive it for Ghanaian students.
Yeah, so we're kind of basing on the guidance from the international recruitment organization. So based on that, we do require English proficiency tests from students in Ghana, unfortunately. But that's the only reason. I think we have been trying to be more flexible with the test scores, especially for international students, but that's not still happening at our institution. So we do have that requirement currently.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so my next question is, what are your strong programs? You mentioned a number of programs and you showed us a number of programs, but what are the most strong programs you have?
Is that for either one of us or for?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. So, I'm sorry, Kay, not to interrupt you. Oh, I'll just uh talk quickly. So all of our programs are extremely strong, but I would say the biggest programs, and I'm sure Kay would also have very similar is our computing program. So anything that has a little bit of AI in it. So by far our computer science program, data science, business intelligence analytics, our AI program, machine learning as well is really, really strong. Our information systems graduate program too is very strong as well. Um, yeah.
Okay.
Um, yes. So we have I think College of Engineering is one of the biggest college on campus. So they offer different types of engineering. So just depending on what you want to study, of course, electronical engineering, civil engineering, industrial engineering, environmental engineering, different types of engineering. And then we do have a big College of Business as well. And then as I explained in the presentation, we have a big research happening in that field of agricultural sciences. So a lot of studies on different plants, different living things. So those are the main colleges. And then I would just say unique majors that we have. We have architecture. That's really getting more common for students, not only international students, but students in general. But architecture, um, and then yeah, landscaping, construction sciences, all of those things are getting more popular at our college.
Okay, thank you very much. My next question is about security. So those particular students want to find out how secured your campuses are and how safe it is.
So I actually grew up 3 miles from Stevens back in the day when the Fourth of July fireworks were on the Hudson River. My family used to actually take us on campus and we used to watch the fireworks from campus. So I'm very familiar with the whole entire area. Our area is very, very safe. All of At Stevens, we don't have security guards. They are actually police officers. So they're all trained police officers, very experienced in their field. So it's a very, very safe area, especially Hoboken itself is a very affluent area. And with the area being more affluent, it's very, very low crime rates. And just like the surrounding areas, very, very, very low crime rate. I'm very safe, very safe. I have no problem walking, and it has a huge nightlife too. So there's people always around as well. So if you're walking at 1 or 2 in the morning, it's extremely safe. I've done it. Walking by myself, and it's very safe area.
So Stockport, Mississippi, and then our campus are also very safe, mainly because we are located in a smaller town. But also the same as the Stevens, we have police officers on campus 24/7. They're working to provide assistance and service for students. So just an example, if students who are studying late on campus and they want to go back to their room, if you call a police officer, they will escort you, so like they can go to the room together, or sometimes they can give you a ride. And then also they provide different self-defense classes, and then also we have good communication platforms, so if anything happens on campus, students will be receiving a call and also emails and text messages. um, so yeah, those are just some examples.
Okay, thank you very much. Miss Bianca, this is your question. So this student says, Miss Bianca, I have a first degree. Can I apply for a PhD program at your institute?
Yeah, 100%. So we do accept students that are coming from their bachelor's degree, so straight after a bachelor's degree into a PhD program, or maybe you graduated a few years ago, you have a little bit of industry experience and now want to apply for a doctoral degree. That's completely acceptable. But because if you don't have a master's degree, you want to make sure that your application is extremely competitive, right? You want to stand out versus those other folks that might have a master's degree and have a little bit more experience maybe in research or working in that particular sector. So we do tell students that if you are wanting to apply with just solely an undergraduate degree, just make sure you have a very strong GRE test score. Depending on what program, if you're thinking of doing like a business administration, a financial engineering PhD, you want to probably submit a GMAT score instead of versus a GRE score, because the GMAT is tailored more for business programs. But you want to make sure that you have very, very highly competitive test scores, very strong letters of recommendation. And if you worked on any research, please include that in your application. You will also have to, for PhD programs, one of the requirements is submitting any published work that you have, whether it's been published or maybe you're in the process of publishing it, or maybe you did like a thesis or a research project. You can include that into your application. And then, of course, make sure that you're also reviewing what current research is being done in the academic department. Every single program has their own research webpage where it has descriptions of everything that's being done, and it links you to the respective faculty member that's working on that particular research area. So make sure you're doing your due diligence, you're doing your research, you're reviewing this, and then subsequently reaching out to the faculty. As I mentioned during my presentation, the faculty love talking about things that they like, right? They love talking about their research. They love talking about their areas of study. So make sure that you're reaching out to those faculty members, and you're doing your, like I mentioned earlier too, make sure that you're personalizing it. It's not just one general blank statement that you're sending out to them, that you're showing them that you did your research and you're showing them why you want to work with them. They wholeheartedly appreciate that. And I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with faculty members where they tell me things like that. One of my graduate student workers, who's actually graduating with his master's degree in a couple of weeks, just got admitted into the PhD program to start in the fall semester. And the way that worked out too, he was talking to a faculty, and the faculty was like, this is actually a great research area. And they just started chit-chatting, and then the faculty member was like, I want to work with you, apply to the PhD program. And subsequently his admission was just released on the 6th of May, so just a couple of days ago. So sometimes that's how it works, right? You're connecting with them. That networking and making and building and forging those relationships are super important, especially when you're looking into doctoral degrees.
Thank you so much. For the sake of time, I wish we could go on and on and on. But at this point, we'd have to wrap up. So I'll give you 1 minute each to give us your last words.
I'll let Kay go first. I know.
Okay.
I can go on.
Yeah, I think, we shared a lot of information, but, if you have any further questions, or, just completely, if we didn't talk about, information that you need from us, just feel free to reach out. Yeah, again, not from just the Mississippi State, but there's so many different opportunities and institutions that you could choose from. So again, prepare well. You should have enough time. And again, if you need any assistance and help, just reach out to people that can support you.
Thank you. Ms. Bianca?
So same sentiments. Of course, I'm sure, we want you to come to Stevens. We want you to go to Mississippi State, right? But make sure that you're doing your due diligence. You're doing your research. You're looking at schools that you want to be in the right area. You want to make sure that they offer you the right programs, make sure that they offer you the right services, that the tuition is right. Also take into account, I'm a huge family oriented person. Anytime I make any decisions, whether it's a minor decision or a major decision, I recruit all my friends and family to help me make those decisions. So once you gather all that information, reach out to your friends, your family, reach out to Education USA advisors, right? To get as much information to make the best educated decision. As I mentioned during my presentation, you're making the first step. This might be your first Education USA webinar, right? But you're in the right direction because you're making the first step to learn about what it entails for a graduate education or an undergraduate education. Attend sessions, reach out to admissions folks. We are here to support you in any which way that you need so we can provide you with that guidance. Set up one-on-ones, go to workshops. If you find yourself on vacation in the area and you want to stop by, reach out and schedule something. Don't be shy because we are here and we want you. You're not going to be a bother. We want you to bother us. We want you to reach out to us. So,
Sure.
yeah, exactly. So
Sure.
please don't be shy. I've done Zoom sessions where I had a student and his whole family with him, and we're all answering. So reach out to us. We are here for you, and we are here to support you.
Thank you so much. Reach out to us. We are here to support you. So at this point, for the sake of time, we'd like to say a very big thank you for joining us today. If you have pressing questions or you still have some inquiries to make,